So today we're going to reverse what we learned about SOHCAHTOA to find angles. Yesterday we used SOHCAHTOA to find sides. Today we use inverse trig functions to find angles. So first we got to remember our main trig definitions. How do we remember them? That's right. SOHCAHTOA. So, of course, stands for sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. Tangent is opposite over adjacent. So we're going to go through an example of the three that we've done already and how to look at a picture and know if it's a SO, a CA, or a TOA. So how we do that is we look at the angle and we label the two sides. So I notice that X here is opposite. And of course the 15 is the hypotenuse. So then I go back to my definitions and say which definition uses opposite and hypotenuse. You're right, sine. So sine of 35 is equal to X over 15. And to solve this for the side, we're going to multiply both sides by 15. So we want to make sure that our calculator is in degree mode, which I'm sure it still is, just double checking there, degree mode, and then I'm just going to type in 15 sine 35 and round that decimal 8.60. Perfect. So that one was sine. Let's see, what about this one? Here I see that the 20 looks like the hypotenuse, and then the x is adjacent. The trig function that goes with adjacent over hypotenuse is cosine. And we do need to show this work. Sometimes people will say, I can just figure out that in my head. I know I would just type in 20 cos 42, but we're still going to write that down, and then the answer 14.86. We're always fair, right? So if we had a SO and we had a CA, you can probably guess what this one's going to be. You are right, it's a tan. The tan of 20 is X over 9. And if we multiply both sides by 9, 9 tan 20 is going to equal 3.28. And I got to make sure I round that correctly. So that's using trig function SOHCAHTOA to find sides. And we have already done that. But now what we're going to learn is what if the angle is the missing piece of information? To find an angle, we're going to use what we call the inverse trig functions. Sine -1, cos -1, and tan -1. And these are on your calculator. So I'm looking at my calculator, I see the sine, cosine, and tangent. And if you look above, you'll see the second function is sine inverse, cos inverse, tan inverse. That's what we're going to use. And for each one here, we're going to find the measure of angle A. So angle A here, the 4 is opposite. The 5 is the hypotenuse. So this is another sine question. The sine of angle A is 4 over 5. To find the measure of angle A, we are going to take the sine inverse of both sides. So in other words, angle A is going to equal the sine inverse of 4 over 5. So to type that on my calculator, I'm going to do second sine. That gives me sine inverse 4. A lot of people don't know how to do over. It's just divided by 5. You don't even need to close the parentheses. It's 53.13. Now, since this is an angle, I'm going to write 53.13 degrees. And that's it. If we go to the next one, now angle A is here. I notice that the 13 is the hypotenuse and the 12 is the adjacent. So the trig function that goes with adjacent over hypotenuse is cos. And then if you want, I don't mind if you just jump to this step to say, this is how I'm going to find the angle. I'm going to type in my calculator second cos of 12 divided by 13. And that's 22.62. And that's all the work you need to show. And of course, it's degrees. Well, we did a SO and we did a CA, so you probably know what's coming. You are right, TOA. The tangent of angle A is equal to opposite over adjacent. Since I'm looking for an angle, I'm going to type in tan inverse of 8 over 15. or second tan 8 divided by 15. And that is 28.07 degrees. Perfect. The last one's just a little story problem. We do a lot of story problems with ladders leaning against buildings. So here's the 20-foot ladder that looks like the hypotenuse. It reaches 16 feet up the house, and they want to know what angle does the ladder make with the ground. So they're looking for this angle. So this would be the 16 is opposite. And of course, it's understood to be a right angle. So opposite and hypotenuse, the sine of that angle is 16 over 20. So what I'm going to type in my calculator, since I'm looking for an angle, is second sine of 16 divided by 20. And if I type that in my calculator, 53.13. 53.13 degrees. And that is it. The tricky part is sometimes deciding if you're looking for a side or looking for an angle, and we'll be real clear on that in directions. So here at the top was looking for a side, and then here was looking for an angle.